Hi, my name is Eric Cooper from Intel Capital, and it's my pleasure to introduce Sriram Chakravarthy from Avaamo. Sriram is a founder and chief technical officer for Avaamo. He has 15 years of engineering experience in designing massively scalable distributed software. Prior to founding Avaamo, he was the vice president for products for the social computing division at Tibco, where he was responsible for building Tibber, Tibco's SaaS-based social computing platform. I'd like to mention also that Avaamo has both Intel Capital and Tech Mahindra as VC investors, and it's been a pleasure working with Sriram and his team. Now, over to Sriram.
All right, thanks a lot, Eric. Appreciate that, and excited to be here, excited to hear from all the speakers in terms of artificial intelligence and the applicability of artificial intelligence. Today, what I'm going to talk about is another area of artificial intelligence and how we are automating enterprise business processes via conversations. We call these as the last mile automation. So what I'm going to talk about is how this last mile automation is changing the way businesses are interacting with their customers, with their partners, as well as internal employee-related conversations. So let's go into this. Let's understand a bit more in terms of what is going on. So let's take a step back and look at this, look at the whole notion of interactions and how we've been interacting with various different types of business applications. So if you roll down and you kind of go back 20 years, it was all about web. It was all about what is called as GUI and how you were going to use these interfaces to interact with business applications. And then you moved on and there was web, and it all became web-oriented applications, and there was a big jump in terms of how things changed when everything moved to the web. And then in 2000, it all became mobile, right? In 2005, the advent of the iPhone, it all became mobile interfaces, and our interaction through mobile interfaces was very different, and it changed the way in which businesses wanted to project and wanted to present information to the users. Now, if you look at what is going on, these interactions, these interfaces have actually moved out of the screen. This is what we call as conversations, where conversations are driving how we are interacting with business applications. This is moved off the screen, and it is through simple medium like voice and text. So you're not learning any new UI. You don't have to go and understand how this UI works. You're pretty much focused on getting work done. And if you look at this, this is kind of reflective, and I don't have to throw up a lot of stats to show how this is working, because today in our personal lives, we are all very comfortable using Siri or Google Assistant or Alexa and commands and telling them commands, whether it's turning off the light or getting directions. We're all very used to these kinds of voice interfaces. So let's look at further to understand what are these assistants? What are these, how is the space evolved over a period of time? So if you start off and look at the spectrum and you look at the left-hand side, there is, starting off with the term called chatbots. And the word bots have been, in the last couple of years, have been bandied around, and there is a lot of companies that do these chatbots. But the challenge is with these bots is they're very shallow. They have very little intelligence in them. They have very little natural language understanding of it. And you mostly see them in social media. And if you look at what Facebook has done, they kind of brought on all these bots. And all of us know, there's very little value from those kinds of bots. Now, if you move down, next you have these virtual personal assistants. This is where the Alexas and the Siris and the Cortanas come in, where there is a bit more intelligence. There is a bit more personalization. There is a bit more interaction, and it kind of, shows off in how you're interacting with these kinds of devices. Now, if you move forward further in terms of the kinds of use cases, and especially what we are seeing in the enterprise, we are calling these as the new conversational AI agents or conversational AI assistants. And if you look at these assistants, there are kind of three key facets to this that make them much more smarter. The first part of it is the natural language understanding part. Not only can they understand what you're trying to say, but more importantly, they can map it back to the domain. Map it back to whether you're talking about a telco vertical, a healthcare vertical, a retail vertical. All these are very, very important. So the depth of understanding is, and also the depth of specific to the domain. Because when you say a plan and you say, hey, I want to get details of a plan, if you're a healthcare customer, the notion of what a plan means is very different from a telco customer. So that's the first part, is deep understanding, not just natural language, but specific to the domain, specific to the context. The second part that makes these assistants smart is integrations, is tying it back into your business applications. Because these responses not only need to be personalized to who you are, but needs to be contextualized. They need to know who you are, what kind of interactions you've had with the system, tied back into backend applications to get back. So integrated, and these applications, the more of these assistants that are tied back into your backend application becomes very important. The third part of the puzzle is everything that most of us care about, especially large businesses who are deploying these kinds of solutions. How secure is this? Can it support multiple languages? Can it provide for the level of HIPAA compliance that I'm looking for? How do I provide for privacy? How do I scale this? So those are all very important aspects as we start looking at the next generation of conversational AI assistants and agents. And that's what we do. That's what Avaamo has been doing for the last couple of years. We are very focused on creating a platform that creates these kinds of virtual assistants. Now, what are these virtual assistants and what kinds of use cases are we seeing? So if you look at the use cases, we are seeing both a depth in the vertical set of use cases in terms of vertical adoption of a platform like this, as well as horizontal applicability of these use cases. So among our 100+ enterprise customers who have adopted Avaamo, we see a lot of traction in healthcare, in financial services, in retail, in telco, and in manufacturing for various different kinds of use cases that are targeting different kinds of audiences. Whether it's employees and employee-specific use cases, you're a large enterprise, you have thousands of employees, everything around simple things, mundane things like resetting password, all the way to ticket management. And we are seeing those plethora of use cases there. And to give an example, we have a large customer who has taken their whole IT service desk and they have integrated it through Avaamo as the front end that runs in their portal as well as on their mobile devices. So they've been able to significantly reduce the number of new tickets getting generated. Now, if you look at the second broad audience, this is customers and customer-specific use cases. Here again, we are seeing a broad adoption ranging from customer service, customer support for existing customers, all the way to new customers, quotes for new customers, and onboarding new customers. So various different kinds of use cases that are very transactional in nature, that are multi-turn in nature. That is, you're not coming in and asking a question, getting back responses. It's actually driving a full business process through the conversational assistant. And the last bucket is suppliers, is partners. And we are seeing a broad applicability of use cases for this as well. And most of these use cases tend to be around orders, placing new orders, getting updates for orders, checking status for orders, onboarding partners. And here again, the channels of interaction are very, very interesting. We are starting to see customers who are starting to use this in various different kinds of new channels to enable partners, right? So these are all the various different use cases that we are seeing for the applicability of a platform like ours. Now, you might kind of look at this and say, okay, that's great, but what outcomes are we driving from this? What are the metrics that we are measuring? How is this really driving business value? So we took, among our 100+ customers, we took a cross-section of customers who are very focused on service desk kinds of use cases, and we kind of analyzed what metrics most of businesses care about. And we kind of see that it's kind of in three different buckets. The first bucket is about the employees, about the customers, about the employee experience. And how are we able to move the needle for the employee experience? And this varies depending on customers from AHT, average handle time. Are we able to reduce the average handle time for employees coming in? This also means, are we able to drive better productivity? And we have customers who have measured some of these things as well. Large enterprise, they got to a point, insurance company they were starting to use for various different kinds of employee use cases. And they had a contact center that was handling employee-specific calls, employee-specific questions that are coming in, as well as customer questions coming in. And using our assistants, they were able to get to a point where almost all the employee-specific questions are now handled through these virtual assistants. They're not actually using their contact center for it. The second big bucket of value that we provide to our customers and how customers are measuring this is in terms of the contact center, in terms of agent productivity, in terms of have they been able to take the existing pool of agents and servicing more number of calls through these agents. Are they able to take their agents, and if there are agents that you can reduce 20-30% of their agents who can be redeployed for other purposes, that's a great metric for these enterprises. So it's about employee experience driving some of the value, cost through the contact center optimization cost, and third is new sources of revenue. It's again very interesting. We were very excited about it too, where what is happening is these new assistants are now starting to open up new channels for customers. I'll give you another example. We have a large beverage company who's using us for especially order management for suppliers and supplier interaction. So now they're using WhatsApp as a channel, which is a brand new channel for them in terms of not only providing status to their partners in terms of what their orders were, but also as a new channel for accepting new orders. So it's becoming a new channel for revenue, a new channel for revenue generation. So experience, cost optimization, and new revenue generation are all great use cases that are driving an adoption of a platform like this. Now, as here are more use cases, more examples of how a platform like this can change how enterprises are interacting with their business, with their stakeholders. And as you embark on this journey, as you're looking at various different conversational AI platforms, here are some of the key things that you need to look at, right? And there are a lot of different providers in the space, but there are key elements in the platform that's going to make your job much more easier. And some of these things are what I put up here, which is domain-specific training. What we have done and what we have seen is lack of data and not having enough data that you can provide to the system, and having cold start problems is one of the biggest challenges that most customers face. So what we have done is we have provided for these pre-built, pre-created domains, pre-created models for various verticals. So we have more than 275 different vertical models that come built into the platform that give you a good starting point, whether it is healthcare, whether it's retail, whether it is providing customer service or service desk to get started. So it's a big plus point. And we have a full stack platform that lets enterprises to get started with this, whether it is your machine learning experts who are coming in defining the model, to your content person or your product manager who's coming in and defining how these dialogues need to be defined. All that is something that we provide out of the box in the platform. And the third part of the puzzle is what I call as the enterprise readiness, and kind of spans various different buckets, ranging from support for multiple languages. Most multinational companies, you have customers, you have users across multiple languages. So we have our platform that's supported for 29 different languages. We have bots that are live, running in 40 different countries. So having that enterprise scale, providing for a secure platform that gives you all this level of compliance, providing you a rich set of tools that makes your job of creating these kinds of assistants faster, where you can go from not having anything to a live bot in about 8 weeks, is the value that we drive. And those are all key things that you should look for as you're looking at conversational assistants. So again, it's been a pleasure talking to all of you. What I would say as you're embarking on this journey of conversational assistants, look us up, Avaamo, and we are here to help as you take on this journey and providing you with the right set of expertise to build your next set of virtual assistants, whether it's for customers, whether it's partners or suppliers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sriram. Most of us in business have come to know about artificial intelligence through chatbots, but now the evolution of chatbots to conversational AI, including text and voice, is just amazing. Thank you again.